To what extent are the heartland and rimland theories helpful in understanding the world political situation today? Express your opinion clearly. The geographic relationship of politics in this world, having the popular nomenclature of geopolitical worldviews, have been a subject of continuing interest among scholars. While scholars of the certain geographic generation had been attempting to explain the pattern of political structure in the world in terms of local and regional variation in environmental conditions, the new thinkers like Mackinder and Spikeman attempted to describe and explain world political pattern in terms of the special models of world power based on some principal fundamental causes inherent in history and geography. It is partly because of this reason and partly because of the fact that modern states, nations believe them to be true. The heartland and rimland theories given by Mackinder and Spikeman will hold some relevance, though it altered some altered form and to a variable degree of extent in understanding the world political situation today. Before discussing the relevance of this theory, it is imperative to explain these theories in brief. Heartland theory, Sir Halford Mackinder, 1861 to 1947 theory, has been the best known global strategic schemes in modern times. He gave his theory for the first time in 1904, and later on modified it several times. His Heartland theory regards political theory as a continuous struggle between the land and the sea power, with the ultimate victory going to the continental power. As per this theory, the continental power was represented by the world island consisting of Eurasia and Africa, comprising 7/8 of the total world population and 2/3 of the total land area. Mackinder Heartland, located interior and Arctic drainage and in inner Eurasia, was perceived as the greatest natural fortresses surrounded by mountains and on three sides and by ice-bound Arctic on the fourth, as shown by the figures given here. Thus, the heartland was not accessible to sea powers. It was, however, vulnerable to land forces in the southwest. Though Eastern Europe, between the Ural Mountains and the Caspian Sea only, with its vast industrial and agricultural resources, the heartland could conquer Europe, the Middle East, and India, and Far East. The other landmass could follow later. These landmasses include the following: inner and marginal crescent, the rest of the Europe, India, and Southeast Asia, and much of the China, outlying islands or outer crescent, North and South America and Australia, Africa, and south of Sahara, the island regions of Britain and Japan. Mackinder notified his Heartland theory in 1943, in which he described the geostrategic area comprising in the North Atlantic Ocean, Eastern US, and Western Europe, and as the Middle Basin. He regarded these areas as an effective counterbalance to the emerging political potential of the Eastern Heartland. Although Mackinder has been the greatest influence on global strategic thinkers in the modern times, he has been variously criticized as given below. Mackinder oversimplified history in a rather deterministic fashion as a struggle between the India and sea power. He wrongly equated power potential with sheer geographical area. She failed to appreciate the airways as a new form of mobility with the rapid march of science and technology, especially the development of warplanes, missiles, nuclear weapons, etc. The surface configuration of the Earth has become very much less insignificant politically. However, the Second World War also raw the rise of the Soviet Union as the strongest power in Eurasia. So Soviet Union soon began to be looked upon in terms of the Mackinder's thesis as a colossus controlling the fortress and threatening to swap over the rest of the world, whether in its shortcoming. The heartland theory continued to be relevant to the post-1945 bipolar world politics because the parties to be gained of the power continued to have faith in it. Deep-seated faith in the heartland theory was the root of the policy of nuclear deterrence and massive arms built-up by both the parties. The current turbulence in the global political system, most particularly the collapse of the Soviet Union followed by the armed American intervention in the Gulf, Afghanistan and Iraq, and consequent rise of the terrorism as a global menace has made the world of international politics very complex. Super predominance of US in world affairs is unquestioned. McIntosh theory gave more weightage to heartland region. It loosely tacitly recognized the potentiality of US-European bloc in its modified concept of Midland Basin. However, moreover, several poles having different currencies of power can be visualized, that is military US Russia, economic and financial European, and so militarily US Russia, economic financial European Union and Japan, the demographic China and India, and the political situation today are in the future shall in all likelihood depend on how the different poles cooperate with one another. Besides the collapse of the Soviet Union has by no means written off the heartland region as a major player in international politics. The economy of Russia is on a south path of rapid revival, booming in 2003-4, and the CIS, by virtue of its resource endowment, geographical location, and economic and military power, a legacy of the superpower era, is destined to remain a leading force in world politics. Apart from that, the US in particular is facing the deadly threat of terrorism, and which can be fought alone by US. That Iraq quagmire has also weakened the position of US in terms of ideal politics. Rimland theory, Professor Nicholas J. Spikeman, 1893 to 1943, working from the same premises as McIntosh, gave a very different interpretation of the relative importance of the heartland, that is the surrounding tier, the inner marginal crescent party, continental or partly or oceanic, which he named as the Rimland. The Rimland theory says that national power is the final determinant of the security of a state. He saw geography as an important factor in foreign policy because of its permanent nature. The theory approached the problems from the point of view of USA. Spikeman criticized McIntosh's theory. There has never been a simple land power, sea power opposition. The historical alignment has always been in terms of same members of the Rimland with Great Britain against some members of the Rimland against Russia. Heartland is not as resourceful as it is made out to be. Spikeman and Heartland appears less important than the Rimlands. He was convinced that it is a combination of land and sea power controlling the Rimland. That world in all probability control the essential power relations of the world, because this combination would emerge as the owner of far greater resources, manpower and mobility than the heartland. Spikeman advocated that the Allied powers should bear their future policy on preventing any co-Rimland states in Europe and Asia have been part of this American policy of containment. Domino theory. Spikeman's objective was to have a peaceful world based on the balance of power by the cooperation of USA, Great Britain, and Soviet Union. This seems to be materializing, albeit in a different form and involving more players through though space is still elusive. Okay, so thank you. Next question, others.